Welcome back to another episode of the Optimize for Impact podcast. My name is Joseph, and thank you so much for tuning in to today's show. Now, on the episode today, I am going to break down a simple framework that I've used and now I want to give you so you can use to figure out exactly what meals you can make that are one, meals that you like. Health food can actually be things you like. 2, you can easily plan for, shop for, and cook for these foods. And then 3, these are meals that support and allow you to crush your health or fitness goals. So, after this episode, you're going to have a simple step-by-step framework you can follow to be eating meals that are getting you leaner, stronger, feeling freaking amazing, all while actually looking forward to meal times. Okay, so no more wandering around the kitchen feeling confused about what should I eat? I don't know what I'm going to eat today. What's the food I need to eat to, support my health goals? No more feeling overwhelmed, flipping through recipe books with tons of ingredients and just being like, I don't have the time, energy, or effort to do this. Okay, we're going to cut through all of that stuff, and you're going to walk away with a framework you can use to identify 1 to 3 what I call home run meals you can tuck away in your high performance health toolkit, your toolbox of sorts, to pull out anytime that you're tired, overwhelmed, and you need a healthy meal that's really quick, easy, and that you like. So here's the thing. Meals, or the food you eat, has the greatest impact on 2 things: your body composition and your weight overall. Okay, so weight overall is just how much you weigh. Body composition is the ratio of lean mass to fat mass. Okay, it's a little bit more of a deeper, nuanced look at just general weight. I don't think I need to explain that, but the way or the meals, the food you eat, has the greatest impact on how much you're going to weigh and how much lean mass you're going to have comparative to fat mass. And so healthy meals cooked at home is the number one tool that you can use to easily automate or maintain a leaner body and or lose weight, lose fat to get to that lean state that you want to be at. But here's the problem, is that home cooked meals are oftentimes difficult. They take time, they take effort because you have to shop for them, you have to prep them, you have to cook them, you have to eat them, you have to clean up all the dishes. And for busy people living in a very fast-paced world who are generally worn out, generally a little bit more tired, it's difficult to sometimes always, day after day, week after week, make good, healthy, home-cooked meals. It is so easy to eat out. It is so easy to call in food. And I'm not saying don't do that. But in general, if you want to make it way easier to increase and elevate your health and maintain a leaner body, then an easy way to do that is going to be figuring out a way that you can make more meals cooked at home. Because according to the research, meals cooked at home have 2 benefits over meals eaten out at a restaurant, fast food, or even foods that are frozen at the store, like Hot Pockets or frozen lasagna, right? Things you can get ready-made at the store. So meals cooked at home have 2 benefits. 1, they're generally lower calories. So you can eat more food and get less energy out of it. So you can walk away feeling more full, you can get more food in you, but it's eating fewer calories. And number 2, meals cooked at home often have higher nutrient content. And so we're talking vitamins, minerals, all those good little things that help your body run well, help you feel amazing and perform amazing. Okay? So we want to eat, obviously, then, if they help us stay leaner by being lower in calories, they help us feel amazing by being higher in nutrients, it would make sense then to try to eat more meals cooked at home. But it is difficult, and that is where this framework comes into play. Now, I call it the home run meals framework. So we are going to create home run meals. So a home run meal is a meal that you come up with, you identify, that meets 3 criteria for you. Okay? The first criteria is it supports the health and fitness goals that you have. The second criteria is that they're easy to make. It's very doable, Very simple, no matter how busy you are that day or how tired you are. And number 3, you actually like eating it. Crazy, right? It's something that is healthy, easy to make, and you enjoy. That is a home run meal. It's those 3 things. So using this framework, you will be able to create home run meals that you can just whip out whenever you need one. Okay, so why did I create this framework? I love food, right? So you know how they say in life there are 2 types of people: people who eat to live and people who live to eat. I definitely am in the live to eat category. But here's the thing. I also love being lean. I love being strong. I love being fast. I love waking up and feeling good, right? Just like performing well, clear brain, lots of energy. And so here I have sometimes this tension between I love food, but I also want to be lean, healthy, and perform at my best. And so I had to figure out a way that I could have both. And this is what I came up with. It's home run meals. Okay, so before we jump into the process, I want to give you an example of like one of my favorite home run meals. And so over the last, I've been eating this for about a year now, every single day for breakfast. This is my go-to home run breakfast. And I believe I've eaten this almost every single morning for a year. And so I was eating a ton of overnight oats or savory oats. Okay. So overnight oats, you probably heard of them by now. They've been in like every single like meals to get lean type of post, and they're amazing. It's oats. You pour in some Greek yogurt or whatever, or milk, stick it in the refrigerator overnight. The next morning, it's ready to go eat. You can just grab it and go. It's an amazing meal. I'm not knocking it. It's an amazing meal for a very busy, quick, get out the door morning. Awesome meal. But I was eating a lot of that and a lot of savory oats, which is oats mixed with spices and like egg and bacon and sausage, those types of things. And I got a little burned out on oats. So I was looking for another breakfast that I would enjoy, support my goals. And this is what I came up with. It's a breakfast hash. So it is a shredded, like a medium-sized shredded potato. It's chopped up cabbage and chopped up onion. So you saute that in a little olive oil or avocado oil, and then I'll add about 20, 30 grams of meat, and then I'll soft cook 2 eggs. So I'll have like a sunny side up, 2 eggs, and I'll lay that all on top with some homemade ketchup and some sriracha hot sauce. And it is absolutely incredible. I love this meal. And it's apparently it's called Bubble and Squeak. So I posted it on TikTok and somebody was like, "Oh, that's Bubble and Squeak." And I was like, "What? I thought I created this." No, it turns out it's like a meal that I think in Ireland or England, it was like farmers' meals like for hundreds of years. But I love it. And so here's the thing. This meal hits all 3. It's a home run meal for me. It supports my goals. It's a very high protein meal from the meat and the eggs. So it's a great way to kick off the morning with some high protein. It's very high nutrient. Again, eggs, good meat, the 2 veggies, the cabbage and the onion, the avocado oil. It's got these amazing nutrients in it, which are going to make me feel freaking amazing. And then it keeps me full. There's tons of volume and tons of protein in this meal. So it's going to keep me full for the entire morning. I don't have as many cravings. I'm not going to go out to the kitchen in an hour looking for a snack. This thing sticks to your ribs, as my grandpa would say. And so I love it. I wake up just craving this meal, which is awesome, right? So I love it, supports my goals, and for me, it's very simple to make. I've gotten to the point where I can whip this bad boy up in 15 minutes or less. Now, I work from home right now, and so I have the time to be able to cook for 15 minutes in the morning. Some people may not have that, and that's where this framework comes into play, because you will design. I'm not going to say like, all right, go eat this, all right? You need to eat hash every morning. No. It's not how this works. You're going to identify foods you like, you enjoy, and are simple for you to make, so you can wake up just like me, craving this amazing breakfast that supports your goals, that is simple for you to make. Okay, so let's dive into the home run meals process. Okay, so we've talked about there are the 3 bases. I know baseball people, I know they're technically 4 bases, but for this framework right now, there are 3 bases or criteria that we've mentioned before, right? A home run meal is something that supports and is aligned with your goals. It is something that you actually want to eat, something you will enjoy, and it's something that is easy, realistic, and doable for most days. Complicated things are very difficult to maintain. We want to make getting our health, fitness, and performance high level. We want to make all that very, very simple, as easy as we can. Okay, so let's talk about number one. So a home run meal is something that supports your goals. Now, there are multiple goals that you may have. The first one is fat loss. Another may be maintenance. And maybe I just want to be healthy. I want to have a ton of energy. I want to feel good, look good, and maintain the body composition and the health that I have. You may want to be increasing your muscle mass. You may be lifting. You want to get stronger, build muscle, and increase your athletic potential. Those are three different goals that you may have. And so you want to find a meal that is in alignment with that goal. So, for example, if your goal is fat loss, you'll probably want to find meals that do three things. One, that have lower energy in them, fewer calories. So you'd be trending toward foods like lean proteins rather than high fat proteins. Now, you'd also want meals to be full of nutrients. There was a study done recently where people think that if it appears that potentially foods with low levels of nutrients, like fast foods, may actually leave people low level craving more food, may cause them to eat more food because the body didn't get the nutrients that it needed. And so there's this thing that people are looking into that they are calling nutrient cravings. And it is basically your body knows it needs more nutrients because the food quality you ate was very low, had a low level of nutrients, like a Big Mac. And so your body is still looking, even though you had a ton of calories, because the nutrient level was low, your body is still looking for more food because your body's like, I want more nutrients. Okay. So for fat loss, we're talking foods that have lower energy, high nutrient content, and something that's very helpful are foods that are highly filling so that you feel less hungry. Hungry is hard. It's hard to be hungry and sit with it and not eat food. And that is a bit of a requirement usually for losing fat. You do have to embrace oftentimes the feeling of just being hungry at times because that's the nature of fat loss. But eating foods that are low energy, high nutrient, and that are sustain how full you feel for as long as possible will help you lose that fat, lose weight without as much hunger, without having to battle that hungry feeling as much. So you're looking for foods that are high in protein, foods with a big amount of volume, like vegetables, fresh fruits, things like that. And you want to be finding ways that you could drink fewer calories. So you in your beverages, you want to reduce how many calories you get from beverages because beverages don't fill you up. Okay, so that's one goal. Building strength, for example. If your goal is you want to build muscle and you want to increase your athletic performance, you'd be looking for foods with higher energy content because it takes higher calories to build muscle, right? So you're looking for foods with higher energy. You're looking for foods still that have high nutrient content because if you're lifting a bunch, running a bunch, working out a ton, your body's going to need more nutrients. And then you're going to be looking for foods that are actually moderately filling because you need to eat a lot more energy if you're trying to build muscle, if you're trying to run a ton or increase your performance. And so you actually are going to be making choices to maybe drink some of your calories. You're going to be looking for higher calorie foods because you actually need to eat more calories than you're expending in order to build muscle. And then finally, the last goal is like if you want to just maintain your weight and be healthy, right? You're looking for moderate, energy dense foods. So foods that are like an assortment of some lean proteins, some high proteins, right? You're looking for that middle road on how calorically dense your food is. You're still going to be looking for high nutrients because you want to feel amazing. And then you're looking for moderately to highly filling foods, right? And so these are three buckets that can be a little, three buckets of goals, right? Just as examples that can be a little confusing, but there are different foods that you would want to prioritize to best fit your goals. And if you're ever confused about what those foods are, right? We talked about energy content here, we talked about nutrient content, and we talked about how filling they are. Those are three things, types of foods or qualities of certain foods you can choose that will better help you, better support those individual goals: fat loss, increase in athleticism, building muscle, maintaining health, increasing your vitality, energy, etc. If you have any questions about like, hey, what's a food that is low energy, high nutrient, and is very filling to support fat loss goals, hit me up on Instagram. We can totally chat out about what types of foods support different goals. It's a little bit confusing. I went to nutrition school for this. You shouldn't have to do 4 to 5 years of nutrition school. That's why I'm here. So if you have those questions like, hey, what food would support building muscle? What food would support more energy? Hit me up on Instagram. Okay, so that's bucket number 1. So the first thing you want to think about with a home run meal are the foods that I'm choosing, will they support the health goals, the fitness goals that I have? And even if you don't have a nutrition degree, it's oftentimes pretty common sense, right? If you want to lose fat, probably eat less cake, eat less ice cream, and eat more vegetables, eat more whole fruits, eat more lean proteins, right? Some common sense applies here. Okay, so that's the first thing to consider. Does this align? Does this support the health goals, the wellness goals, and the lifestyle, the life quality I want to enjoy? And so the second base here of the home run meals framework is this a food that I actually like? Okay, so here's the thing. There's so many health foods out there that are just gross, as we talked about earlier on this podcast at the start. And we don't want to be the people choking down disgusting meal replacement shakes, choking down kale if you hate kale, right? There's no reason to be miserable and in order to be healthy. There is absolutely no reason. And so we're going to find foods that you enjoy, that you actually look forward to, like my breakfast, a thing I wake up. I'm even craving it now. I'm recording this around dinner time. And like, I'm excited tomorrow morning to be able to wake up and go eat that breakfast. I love it that much. And that's where we want to get you with meals that also support your health goals, things you love. Okay, so here's my little couple questions here that I would want you to run through to identify or how you find foods that you actually like. Okay, so first step, the first thing you want to do, you want to sit down and you want to identify 2 to 3 high protein foods, protein sources that you like. Okay, so we always want to build meals around protein. Protein is the most important macronutrient really for health. Some people could argue about fat, and we'll get to that here in a second, but protein is kind of the ultimate food source that you want to build everything on. You want to build your diet on protein. So we start there. Every meal we build off of the protein that we choose. So sit down and think about, okay, what are 2 to 3 types of protein foods that I enjoy? For me, for example, I would sit down and be like, okay, I enjoy eggs. I enjoy low-fat, non-fat Greek yogurt. I enjoy chicken, and I enjoy steak. Boom. To be honest, I enjoy like almost every protein, right? I'm talking fish, I'm talking sardines, I'm talking everything. But for this example, eggs, Greek yogurt, and steak. Perfect. There's your protein sources. Those are foods you know you enjoy and you're going to like. So now let's go build meals off of those 3 sources. So write those down. Get out a piece of paper, write down your 3 protein sources that you enjoy. Second, what veggies do you like? Or, because some people are like, I hate veggies, period. I hate veggies. So another question to ask then is, what are vegetables that maybe I'm willing to try? If you're not quite ready to say I like them yet, what am I willing to try? And then write those down. For example, for me, I would write down tomatoes. I would write down green beans, and I would write down, I love everything. Cucumbers, pickles, cabbage. I love cabbage. Okay. So I'd write all those down. Those are vegetables I know I like. And so I'm going to build those into meals. Third, you're going to write down what are fat sources you like. Now, fat sources are also one of the important macronutrients for health because there are certain type of fats that our body actually needs to get from our diet that we can't make. We cannot create those. Your body is like a chemical lab, and your body can create a ton, millions of different compounds from different compounds that you eat. But there are a few your body can't make, and it has to get from the diet. And a few of those are fats. Okay, so we want to look for what are some fat sources I enjoy that are good fat sources. Now, if you're ever confused about what things are, there's going to be a resource I'm going to link to in this description of the fat sources, the protein sources, things that I recommend for optimal health. And if you ever have questions, again, shoot me a message on Instagram and I can chat with you about what are good fat sources. But for me, I'm going to write down, here are my favorites: extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, and whole eggs. Okay, now whole eggs is kind of weird because I include that in a protein and a fat. And if you look into the components of eggs, eggs have about equal sources fat to protein. And so I'm going to include that in this example as one of my fats. Okay, and then finally, I'm going to ask, what are carb sources that I want and that I enjoy? Now, before we talk about carbs, this is like the universal disclaimer. There's so many myths about carbs out there. Carbs are not bad. Carbs do not inherently make you fat, etc. Carbs are maybe the least important of the macronutrients, just because you don't need a high carbohydrate diet to be healthy. Now, I argue that eating carbohydrates is awesome. Generally, everybody feels better with carbs. Some people out there disagree, and that's awesome. But carbs aren't bad. So now we're going to pick carbs that we enjoy. Remember, though, we're still trying to filter this through our goals, right? So that we enjoy and that support our goals. So I'm going to write down, here's what I would write down. I'd write down like any fresh fruit. I would write down potatoes. I love potatoes. They're an awesome, awesome whole food. Might write down sweet potatoes. I would definitely put rice on there. Those are carb sources that I enjoy, are awesome whole foods, and that I'm going to include as carbohydrates in my meals. Okay, so now that I have all those foods written down on a piece of paper, I will create meals from those foods. Now, I make very simple meals. I often will cook some meat, I will cook some vegetables, and I will cook some carbs. And I don't make elaborate foods. I'm not the person who's like baking pot pies, who's baking lasagnas, who's creating these elaborate, like quinoa bowls. I do that occasionally, but in general, in life, I try to keep my diet as simple as possible, as good as possible, as healthy as possible, and as simple as possible. Because I know if I keep most of my meals simple, I'm so much more likely to enjoy high health, to stay lean, to stay strong, and perform at my best. And I am personally willing to trade eating 80% of my meals being pretty boring, according to some people, and 20% being a little bit more exciting. I'm willing to eat boring meals, to do those boring basics, because that allows me to live the lifestyle that I want to live. Have the health, have the fitness, go out there, create the impact, because I feel good. I wake up feeling strong, feeling amazing, and I'm willing to eat boring meals to do that. So what you do at this point now is you have those ingredients and you know, like, hey, I will mix and match. So for example, lunch one day could be potatoes, like a baked potato with steak, and then you would include one of your veggies. I would maybe do some green beans. Boom, there's a meal. I could cook the green beans in olive oil. I could like saute them a little bit. There it is. I use one of my fats, I use my veggie, I use my meat, and I use one of my carbs. There's a meal. Now I can mix and match for dinner that day. I could use chicken breast, and I could use rice, and I could use olive oil or avocado oil or eggs, and I could use a veggie. I could throw in cabbage, and I could saute that all together in a pan and make like a stir fry. And there's another meal that I made from those foods I listed out. Those 2 to 3 of each protein, carb, veggie, and fats. And I now just can mix and match those to create very simple meals. Now, the secret sauce here, there's the hint, is spices and sauces. Okay, so something to know about sauces. A ton of sauces like ranch can be very high in fat content. So your sauces and seasonings may be, you want to look at the ingredient labels, may end up being your fat source for meals. So I personally try to find low calorie sauces so I can prioritize having more food prioritize having different fat sources and eating more food. So I like to find spices I can cook with, like garlic powder, soy sauce, ginger powder, or fresh ginger, right? Fresh garlic, basil, Celtic salt, tons of things I can use to spice up literally these quote unquote boring meals to make them taste amazing, but without adding a ton of calories into them. Now, sometimes I do use higher calorie sauces like some teriyaki sauce, right? And I factor that in as a carb or as a fat, etc. But you can take that simple list of 3 protein sources, 3 carbs, 3 veggies, and you can make a ton of different meals by mixing and matching pieces and by adding different spices or sauces into the mix. And this so simplifies what you eat, what you cook, and how easy it is to shop, because you're just like, you could just buy 9 to 12 things a week and done. Boom, you're done. Okay. So that was step 1 and 2. Does it support my goals? Are these foods I'm actually going to want to eat? I'm actually going to enjoy? And then finally, the last step is, are the meals I'm going to make simple, easy, and doable? We just talked about this a second ago, how by keeping your ingredients, the number of ingredients you buy very, very low to those like 2 to 3 things, then it really makes it pretty simple to decide what you're going to eat, because you just mix and match. Now, you can obviously buy more than that, but at its most simple, knowing that like, hey, my carbs today are going to be fruit, rice, or potato, that makes it pretty easy, pretty doable to cook up a meal. You're not going to be wandering around going like, oh, am I going to have like mac and cheese? Am I going to make Alfredo? Am I going to make steak and eggs? Am I going to make that soup? Am I going to make that chili from grandma? Am I going to make, right? All these things. You just know right away, like, hey, this is simple. And when you cook with those things, you figure out how to prep them, make them, what am I trying to say here? You often, like, I've gotten very good now at cooking with the foods that I eat a lot more often. I figure out how to prep them really easy, how to store them really quickly. And I have now I've drastically cut down the amount of time I'm in the kitchen because I know exactly how to cook the foods that I enjoy. Okay, but there are other things you can do that will cut down the amount of time it takes to actually make meals. So here are a couple things I recommend. Here are some tools. One is the Instant Pot. Okay, the Instant Pot, it's like a pressure cooker mixed with a slow cooker. It is the number one thing I recommend anyone go out and buy right now, because it can do so many things and it can cook food. It can like automate your food, right? So in the morning, you can just dump stuff in it. The meat can be frozen. The veggies can be raw. You can throw the lid on and slow cook it for 8 hours, and you're going to come home at night and dinner is ready, right? The Instant Pot, and then, right, because that's the slow cook function. So you can just toss stuff in it, and 8 hours later, 48 hours later, you have a meal ready to go, right? Prep can be literally 3 to 5 minutes, because you can dump frozen food and raw food in this thing and it cooks it for you. Second, it has a pressure cooker, so you can cook things really quick if you want the meal now, right? So you can cook frozen foods, raw foods in like 10 to 30 minutes. And again, you just toss them in, turn the lid on, go, and you can walk away and it cooks everything for you, okay? So the Instant Pot, they don't cost that much. They're like 70 to one something depending on the model. I have the lowest level model. It does more than I need it to do. I don't think you need anything higher than the base model, and it's like $80. Go buy an Instant Pot. Second one is an air fryer. I borrowed a friend's. I personally don't have one now, but the air fryer also, you could cook, probably don't need to tell you, maybe you've tried it, but you can cook veggies in that thing. You can make really, really good crisp cooked veggies if you like your veggies fried. And again, it's so much easier than sauteing it on a pan. I saute mine because I don't have an air fryer, but an air fryer can massively also speed up prep time and cook time for you. So you can get these meals, you can make these meals a lot more simple, easy, and doable. And then my last recommendation is to buy big Tupperware or something you can store and freeze food in. Okay, so meal prepping is a very popular thing, and there's so many different ways to meal prep. I personally don't like the style of buy 20 different containers and try to make 20 meals that like you put in the container. That doesn't fit my lifestyle very well, because I have days where I have high levels of training and I'm very hungry. Then I have rest days where I'm not that hungry. And so having those containers of like food that's all the same, like portioned out to be the same, doesn't work for me because there's some days I need to eat more food and there's some days I don't need that much food. So what I do is I batch cook, store a bunch of food in one container, put the rest in a big container and freeze it. I can thaw that when I eat through the stuff I have in the fridge. So what I recommend is buy things that you can batch cook your carbs. Like if with those potatoes, I can cook like 15 baked potatoes at once, keep a bunch of them in the fridge and throw some in the freezer, and I have them ready to go, right? So that's another way you can simplify what's your prep time, your cook time, is by batch cooking, freezing the stuff you don't use, and having it ready to thaw when you're ready to use it. A couple other like hacks here for making meals simple and easier. If you don't want to spend the time to cook raw food, then you can buy things like frozen veggies, frozen fruits, frozen meats, things that are maybe pre-cooked, ready to go, and you can just thaw them and eat them. That's a great option. So look for like good frozen foods like veggies, fruits, or meats you can have ready to go. You can buy a bunch of canned stuff, right? So canned veggies, canned beans is a great one. Some canned meats are awesome. Like I often have cans of sardines, tuna, or chicken stashed away for days that I need something real quick. I don't have the time to make a meal, don't have the time to cook anything. Nothing in the fridge is ready. I can grab some of those canned meats. I'm ready to go. I take them on trips all the time. Okay, so like canned stuff is a hack. And then finally, ready cooked stuff. You go to the store, if you had a busy day, you're exhausted, instead of getting pizza, if you did that, last week, you can just buy a rotisserie chicken. Go to the deli, buy a already cooked piece of meat. It's awesome. It's whole, fresh meat, ready to go. You don't have to cook it. You don't have to spend the time, energy, effort. Take that bad boy home. There's dinner, right? So those are all things you can do to make the prep, the cooking, and the shopping simple. So let's recap. 1, you can keep your ingredient list very simple, like I did. 3 protein sources, 3 carbs, 3 to 4 veggies, couple fats. Boom, done for the week. Mix and match meals from those ingredients. 2, you can get tools like the Instapot, air fryer, big Tupperware for storing prepped batches of foods. And then 3, you can buy foods that are ready to go, frozen, canned, or deli foods. Okay, those are all tools to make things easier. Okay, so the home run meals framework. Let's recap this. It's 3 bases, quote unquote, that you want to think through as you design your meals, as you pick your ingredients, and as you decide how you're going to cook these, how you're going to prep them, and does this make sense for me? Is it something I can easily do no matter how busy my schedule is, no matter how hectic things are? And so the first base is, does this support my goals? The second base is, are the foods I'm buying, do I actually like these? Or is it like I feel like I should eat it, right? That's a big difference. Because if you're getting something because you feel like you should eat it, you might be less likely to actually eat it, right? That's when bags of spinach go bad in the back of the fridge, vegetables rot. People buy things because they're healthy, but they don't actually want to eat them. So find foods you like, things you actually want to eat, that support your goals. And then finally, whatever you cook, see if you can make it just as simple as possible. It may be a little boring, and that's okay. The basics often are boring, but the basics in sport, in business, and in life, the foundational principles often aren't very sexy. They often are boring, but they're the things that actually drive success. So be willing, maybe, to be a little bit boring, to eat boring meals as you figure this out, as you figure out ways to spice them up, but meals that you do enjoy, that do align with your goals, and that are so simple and quick for you to make. Now, we've covered the framework. Now let's talk about how do we actually do this? Because the magic of this podcast, what I really, really always want to communicate on this show, is the implementation part. How do we actually now take action? Because many times we get information and it's good information like the framework, but then there's no plan to actually use it. And so if we don't use the knowledge we get, we're never going to get the results because you have to take your knowledge and put it into action. So here's how you put into action. Here's what I suggest. Start with just one meal. Okay, so right now you're already eating food. Could be a lot of things. Maybe you're already making a lot of food at home. Maybe you travel a lot and so you eat out a ton. Maybe you're tired and like a number of your meals out are food you're calling in. That's great. Don't try to overhaul everything at once. That's the biggest mistake most people make, is like when they're like, okay, I'm going to eat healthy, and they try to make this whole like 180 flip of their life. And they're like, never again will we call out for pizza. Never again will we go out to eat. Never again will we go through fast food. Please don't do that. Start simple, start small. So start with just one meal. So for example, start with breakfast. Be like, okay, this week, this month, how can I get a home run breakfast most mornings? Okay. Starting with one meal keeps it really simple. So pick one meal, breakfast, and then come up with 1 to 3 home run meals that you can eat during the week for breakfast. So go through that framework. Okay, what are proteins I will enjoy? What are some carbs I will enjoy? What are some fats? Can I get a fruit or a vegetable into my breakfast? Come up with a couple items, use those to design some simple breakfasts. And then once you have 1 to 3 meals that you're like, okay, these will be simple for me to make. They're based on foods I actually want to eat. Now let's give it a go. And then try it out. Buy those veggies at the store this week, make those meals, see what happens. Sometimes you'll find, oh, I didn't like that. Or, oh, that meal, I woke up Tuesday morning and it actually took me longer to cook than I thought. I didn't have time. And so I had to I'd run by McDonald's on the way to work to have food. That's great. Don't feel bad. Take that data and be like, okay, maybe that meal is going to be good for some days, but maybe not for days that I'm strapped for time or I wake up late or something through a curveball. And so how can I adapt that? How can I come up with something different or alter it in some way so that it's going to be simple, it's going to be more easy, and it's going to be more doable? Okay, a lot of health and nutrition really is problem solving. It's trying to figure out, okay, what works for me, not Joseph, right? Because Joseph's breakfast hash that he loves, maybe I don't have time to make that every morning. And that's fine. And so, but the thing is, you really do want to test some meals, test some groceries, see if you like it, see if it's easy, keep playing, keep tweaking it, keep modifying it until you find 1 to 3 breakfasts that work for you. Now you have those in place. Those are your home run breakfasts that are supporting your goals. They're easy to make and you like them. Now you can go to the next meal. You can say, okay, now we're going to look at lunch. How can I work some home run meals into lunchtime and keep going piece by piece by piece, taking the time to focus on one meal, whatever's simple, doable for you, play with it, work with it, modify it as you go, and then rinse and repeat. And pretty soon you'll find once you have home run meals set for the majority of your eating plan, okay, I am not advocating for only eating home run meals all the time. You don't need to do that. But what you will have by going through this framework is you will know much more. You'll have refined a strategy, if you will, for knowing, having these meals tucked away in your head that you know you can make. Generally, you're going to have those groceries laying around because you're going to be buying them because you want to eat them. And you will never again be lost or confused or overwhelmed or like that day where you're like, man, I have to make this eating decision I don't want to make because I don't know what to do. Because now you have these home run meals set and ready on deck, ready to go. And you know you can easily whip them out and get eating. Okay, so I hope this helps. The home run meal framework is the foundation of my current eating habits, hands down. I've identified breakfast, lunches, dinners, snacks, things on the road, things when I travel. It's taken me a year or two of refining this process, figuring it out, but now I have home run meals for almost every single situation in life that I come across. And that allows me, it takes a ton of the guesswork out, a ton of the stress out of like, what am I going to eat in order to stay healthy, stay feeling amazing, stay performing at my best, no matter where I'm at or what my schedule throws at me. I want you to be able to have that confidence and have that skill as well. And this framework, I believe, is the most simple way to come up with foods you like that keep you healthy and that are simple to make. So there's going to be a link to download a resource. I'm going to give you a PDF, a little blueprint you can use as a visual, as a plan, as a roadmap to work through these different steps. I'll have suggestions of foods in there that I recommend. If you're like confused about, hey, what's a healthy fat? Or what are protein sources? Like, I'm a little confused about the macros. This guide's going to have everything you need in order to work through this entire framework and come out at the end with home run meals that are going to get you kicking ass, doing cool stuff in your life, feeling amazing, feeling healthy, losing fat, all the good things. Okay, so be looking for that link. It'll be in the show notes at the bottom of this episode. And then if you found this show valuable, I would really, really, really appreciate it if you just simply share it with a friend who would benefit from it. That's all I ask. Also, well, it's not all I ask. I also ask this, that if you find it valuable, you drop a review or rate it 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, because that really, really, really helps this show reach more people. Because Apple's like, ooh, we like this. We'll push it out to more people, and more people will then get the Home Run Meals Blueprint, which would be super awesome. And then lastly, I love your feedback. I covet your feedback. I want to make this show the best show. This is worth more than its weight in gold for your time that you spend listening to it every week. And so please, if you have feedback, if you have questions, if anything you'd like to say to make this show better, or topic suggestions that you want to hear me talk about, email me or message me on Instagram. My handle is itscoachjoseph on Instagram. Shoot me a DM. Love to chat. And if you have any questions about anything in this episode, reach out to me on Instagram. I love chatting science. I love being able to talk nutrition, to talk strategy with you. So never hesitate to reach out. That's all for today. I hope the Home Run Meals framework and blueprint resource is something that you will find useful, that will allow you to better pursue your purpose, maximize your impact, and get out there and live a deeply fulfilling, meaningful life. Thanks for listening to the show, and I'll see you next week on the Optimize for Impact podcast.